Welcome to TYT Sports. Jason and Francis here with you. We have a great run of stories for you, as you can see on the sidebar, and we're beginning with a big one. And by that, I really just mean how big Shaq is physically.
Yeah, I get it.
But he threw out a big and bold statement in regards to the Philadelphia 76ers and the 2016 NBA Draft. Here's his words as part of the big podcast, which is Shaq's podcast. Quote, Philly can tank all they want. He said they're not getting the first pick. Ain't no way they, whoever they may be, is sending that young man, Ben Simmons, to Philadelphia. All the great players in the league, the draft, there has been talk of a conspiracy theory, all the way from Ewing to me to LeBron playing in Cleveland. So I am guaranteeing Philly ain't going to get the first pick. I'm guaranteeing you that right now. Philly won't even come close to getting the first pick. Big words. Big words. Got to put this in historical context first, right? So he alludes to Patrick Ewing in the 1985 NBA Draft, which many people claim to have been fixed. It's known as the frozen envelope conspiracy theory. Basically, 1985, David Stern just recently took over as commissioner of the NBA. The New York Knicks were basically falling by the wayside. Bernard King wasn't even playing half that season prior to it, a great scorer for the Knicks at the time. And one of the meccas of basketball in that way wasn't even selling out Madison Square Garden. The envelope with the Knicks logo was frozen, so when David Stern reached in to pick it out, it was just much colder than all the others.
The team whose logo is in this envelope will have the first pick in the NBA Draft. The first pick in the 1985 NBA College Draft.
As Shaq is alluding to is that the NBA Draft lottery in the past hasn't necessarily been fair. And they want to give certain players to certain markets to make the NBA's product a little bit better. And yeah, at that point, Patrick Ewing literally saved the Knicks. Even though they didn't win a championship, it started building more of a fan base for New York City, obviously New York City being one of the biggest markets in the world. But in terms of Ben Simmons or Brandon Ingram, regardless who goes first, Shaq is pretty adamant that Philadelphia isn't getting that pick. And it's interesting, mostly because Adam Silver, the commissioner now, is very different from David Stern, seems to have had a spotless track record. Mm-hmm. And how we look at it is, I don't see Adam Silver being that type of guy. But Francis, big words, big players, potentially franchise-changing players.
Big hands.
Big hands, big Shaq.
Right, so I understand, new to the whole lottery system here in the draft, it's a way to make everything a little fairer, right? To fair up the teams that are disastrous. There's a certain thing to be said about what has to be focused on in American sports is that it is a business after all, and I've seen more than any other country, I would say, when it comes to American sports, is it's treated like a business when it comes to trying to make sure that the league and the teams thrive. So would it surprise me if a franchise who is needing to rebuild and get back to the level in which they were one of the most profitable, aka the fucking Lakers, or maybe the Celtics, would it surprise me if there was some corporate, I would say, movement and behind-the-scenes dealings in order to get that to happen? No, it wouldn't surprise me, because that's almost what I think you want to get these teams back to where they are because of how much you've profited from that. And for me, the 76ers, of course, if they're to get someone like Ben Simmons, they're definitely going to be a better team, and I don't want to take away from the fairness aspect of it, but you got to think about how a player thrives in a team personally and how they thrive in a team as an athlete and as a growing player. So, I think it's a match made in heaven for someone of the stature of Ben Simmons to go to the Lakers or something like that, where they're desperately needing someone like him, especially with the whole D'Angelo thing that's going on at the moment. Come on, mate. Snapchat is for the lads. Let's not send it out virally. And when I think about someone like Ben Simmons, it's just the weight that's already attached to this kid's name is a very similar weight that was attached to LeBron James. Is a very similar weight that was attached. I love when Shaq, he's just so easily throws his own name in there. I wish I could get to that stage. Some of the great players that move, like LeBron, me, and these guys. It's awesome. But again, Jason, my overall, I'm still a little too naive in the whole way the thing works. It just wouldn't surprise me.
Also, again, to go back to one point, is that the lottery exists mostly because they want teams to not tank. Because if they did the draft order simply by worst record gets the first pick, the 76ers would be 0-82. And other teams that might not be going for the playoffs, I'm going to say like the Washington Wizards might have just realized, you know, screw this. We can just get Ben Simmons or Brandon Ingram or maybe whoever's going to be the Buddy Hield, as some rumors keep going across. And we're just going to tank. You know, we're halfway through the All-Star game. We're just going to go 0-30 through the last 2/3 of the season, or last third of the season, get that pick. But when it comes to what the character of some of these players, like we don't know what the number 1 overall pick of the 2016 NBA draft. He can go on and be the Jewish word is a mensch. You're a good human, good, decent human being, and you give back to the community. Jahlil Okafor, for all we knew in college, was not a problem player, and then all of a sudden he gets drafted, and now through half a season or a full season of the 76ers, he gets into fights with TMZ, or TMZ captured him getting into bar fights, whatever it was, on the street. You can take a look here. I know we have that video.
What's up there? What's up there? What's up there? What's up there? What do you got? Yeah, boy. Come on. Get out, Jahlil Okafor. Get off. Come on. Why are you disrespecting one of the best players in the NBA?
I don't think Shaq is necessarily like wrong in believing that there's no way that the 76ers get the first pick. But if I have to really think about it, I believe that Adam Silver won't do that. Grant, I think that there's going to be a 22.5% chance they get the first pick because that's how the lottery works out. Last year, the Timberwolves got the first pick. The Knicks don't have a first-round pick, so maybe they'll get the first pick.
Interesting.
Then you'll have a conspiracy on your hands. The difference that I want to say, though, is I don't know if I think Ben Simmons could be a great player. I think any number 1 overall pick in any NBA draft always has the potential to be a great player or the potential to be Anthony Bennett or Kwame Brown. So to me, the difference, though, was when LeBron came into the league, it was undoubtedly this guy was going to change the landscape of the National Basketball Association. When Shaq and Patrick Ewing were coming into the league, that was the time where the big man dominated. You needed a rim protector and a back-to-the-basket scorer, and Shaq and Patrick Ewing were those type of players. The league has changed so much in terms of what teams need and what a standout one individual could do that I don't know if, like, when Shaq says, like, there's no way Philadelphia, I don't think it's the end-all, be-all for Philadelphia. And what's amazing to me about all of it is that the 76ers, many forget, the 76ers, or the city of Philadelphia, is a mecca of basketball in the exact same ways that Madison Square Garden is to New York, and Staples Center, or at least the Forum was to L.A., and the Garden, and now the TD Garden up in Boston was. And the reason I say that is not because of the market, but because of Dr. J and his amazing, and the ballers that came out of Philadelphia, and like young Philadelphia ballers that came out and were in the 70s and the early 80s and even the late 60s, right? Enormous impact. Even Allen Iverson.
I was going to say Iverson recently.
Really resurged the Sixers back into greatness. I mean, he took one game from the Lakers in the finals, and now it's been like 15 years or 10 years, and we're going like, wow, Philadelphia has really tanked. Philadelphia's had more success than the Knicks have had in the last 20 years. Yet we hold New York as a bigger market, but Philadelphia is really, at least historically, as big of a basketball-centric universe as it is to the other places. So Shaq says there's no first-round pick for the 76ers. I think we think that there's a 21.72483% chance that it goes to the 76ers, whatever the lottery breaks down the odds for each team.